What y'all listening to?
Limelight Highlight Podcast.
And welcome back to the Limelight Highlight, your silver lining space to take a break from the stressful everyday. As always, I'm your host, Jonathan Rosario, and if it's your first time tuning in, welcome. This podcast is created to highlight all things positive and bring them into the limelight by sharing and reporting them on this exact platform, as well as my Facebook and Instagram. As you know, I love reporting on all things positive, but from time to time, we need to address the negative to focus on how we can change things for the better. But before we dive any deeper into the podcast, we got to go through our weekly announcements. That's how we always start out the podcast. So, this past Sunday, the Block to School drive with the Block Gives Back and Hair Wizards, hosted by Hair Wizards, was an amazing success that I'm hearing through the grapevine. 250 book bags given out. Every bag had 2 notebooks, 2 folders, 1 pencil case, 8 pencils, 2 glue sticks, and a rubber eraser and ruler. Shout out to everyone who participated and donated some supplies. There was face painting. The National Guard actually came out, brought some inflatable games, and of course haircuts for the youth provided by Hair Wizards. A huge shout out to Jack Costello's Boxing Club for their donation box, Super Pack Inc., Joe Hostenstein, and I hope I said that right. And of course, both Hair Wizards locations in Philly. Think Steaks donated food, Little Caesars Pizza donated food, Mr. Frosty Ice Cream even got in on the fun as well. And the National Guard also brought 50 bags, so there was plenty to go around. If you missed out, not to worry. There were many donations. There were so many donations that they're able to give a solid amount at Power Circle's next event next Saturday. So if you missed this event, next Saturday, Frankfurt Fun Day book bag giveaway, August 31st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So be on the lookout for those flyers on the internet. And since it's the last Tuesday of the month, you know what that means. Feed the Block, starting at Moss Playground in Philly, where they'll do the food preparation. Then moving on to 16th and JFK, the Block Gives Back will be feeding the less fortunate, so be sure to get involved. And I know they always need help with the volunteers, so it's not too late to get your good deed in for the week. Make sure you go help them out. I know you guys been hearing me promote this for the past few months, and here I go again. If you have not done so, go right now, ladies. I have the honor of helping sponsor Babes Who Brunch, a women's empowerment mixer, on September 15th, hosted by Who Brunch from the Queen Corner and Sky Butte Co. So go check out thequeencorner.com right now. Get your tickets and more info on the event. Get inspired and surround yourself with like-minded go-getters and see how you can be inspired. And lastly, I have the honor of getting involved with another organization that's just recently started. I'll also be helping sponsor their back to school event. You can help or you can find them and visit them on their Instagram page at we.r._. And their mission is to rebuild, transform, and uplift any community in need by providing professional barbering services as a unique form of outreach. Because let's face it, the first thing people do when they look at you is judge you on your appearance. You know, most of the time, if you look good, you feel good, and most people will treat you good, or at least a little bit better than those who don't or can't take the best care of themselves. So go check them out. They'll be giving back to school cuts in Baltimore on the 31st, and they'll be in Philly on the 1st. So be on the lookout for them doing good in the community. Now, on to the show. So, as I was saying, every so often there are some negative things that we have to address to focus on how we can improve them, right? I'm sure by now you've heard the news of the Amazon rainforest being on fire for a few weeks now and not being brought to or any attention on any real mainstream media outlets. So while scrolling through Twitter, you know, I don't follow many people and I rarely go on, but when I do, I'm always entertained by the Block Gives Back's Vice President Hakeem. And the reason I bring this up is because one of his tweets kind of got my attention and got me thinking. And the specific tweet I'm talking about, I'm going to read is quote, "I'm not trying to be a dick, but would media covering the Amazon burning down actually help anything? What helpful action can be taken if we do know about it and tweet. Now, that got me thinking, regardless of how you feel about the tweet, he does have a point. We can complain about the injustices everywhere or about things happening in our backyard, but can we actually do anything about it besides bring it to light? Now, before I go any further, I'd just like to point out that while we may not physically be able to do anything about the rainforest being on fire, I do believe that sharing it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever social media platform you're sharing it on does help, because just yesterday I seen the news, or a couple of days ago at this point, I seen the news that America has sent firefighter planes to help contain and put out the massive fire. While I couldn't find anything that, on why it took us so long to help, I do believe that social media had a huge role. I mean, I may be wrong, but I feel like the social media had a huge role in bringing attention to this devastating fire. But one of the responses to that tweet that we previously just stated, was from another Twitter user, and this chick posted 2 pictures containing text and details on where you could go and how you could help with long-lasting impacts on preserving the rainforest. Now, this also got me thinking, I would really like to start paying more attention to the things we as a people can do rather than just simply speaking on positive news. As of right now, the world, is all we got. And we're the ones who need to individually do our part to help save it. The Amazon rainforest is the world's largest rainforest, bigger than the second and third largest rainforest in the world put together. That's how big that thing is. The Amazon River is the world's largest river. It's estimated to have 16,000 tree species, 390 billion individual trees. It's got 2.5 million species of insects, 1,300 bird species, 3,000 types of fish, and 430 mammals. It counts for 70% of South America's GDP. GDP are basically places where goods and services are produced. And in those areas, they receive rainfall or water from the Amazon. It also influenced rainfall patterns as far away from the rainforest as the U.S. There are about 400 to 500 indigenous tribes that live in the Amazon, and it's also referred to as the lungs of the earth because of the mass amount of plant life in the rainforest that releases more than 20% of the world's oxygen. And I'm bringing up all those facts to point out how obviously important the rainforest is, not only to that region of the planet, but the entire world. 70% of the deforestation of the Amazon is due to cattle ranching and like big big pharma, not pharma, that's pharmaceuticals, just farm ranching and stuff. And it's been declining since 2004. There are tons of reasons for the decline, but as the root of all evil goes, the biggest one is money and the opportunity to make more. When will these corporations realize you can't eat money, and eventually the damage is going to be irreversible if it isn't already? But there are quite a few things you can do as an individual on an individual level that can have long-lasting impacts, as we discussed earlier. And I just want to briefly go over just a few to give you guys an idea. You can protect an acre of rainforest by visiting RAN.org. RAN stands for Rainforest Action Network, and they're dedicated to taking action against the companies and industries driving deforestation and climate change. Their website's actually very interactive, and they have a ton of information on how you can help as well as what's causing all of the problems in detail. Another website is rainforesttrust.org. They're dedicated to saving threatened rainforest habitats and wildlife that lives there. With your donation on their website, you can help buy land in the rainforest, and they have some very informative windows that show you the percentage of certain rainforest areas throughout the world, and with the amount of people donating to give you an idea of the percentage that they're getting help with. And I've seen some in Colombia, I've seen some in the Amazon, like a bunch of different places, but I thought that was really good website to visit. You can also help support the rainforest's indigenous population, that 400 to 500 indigenous tribes that we talked about a little earlier, by visiting amazonwatch.org and getting information on how you can take action by donating or getting involved in a ton of other ways that they have listed. While I was reading about those indigenous tribes, they were saying there are like almost 50 more tribes that haven't even been contacted by, the real, not the real world, we're all in the real world, by the first world, whatever. We haven't, they just haven't been in contact with civilization, like up to date. Anyway, if you're into helping protect the animals living in the jungle, you can check out World Wildlife Fund by visiting worldwildlife.org. They have a bunch of information on there. And if you don't have money to donate or want to help in other ways, you can do so by, one, reducing your paper and wood consumption. Make a tad bit more of an effort to recycle and, be more conscious of littering and where you're throwing your trash. And they actually have a website called rainforestalliance.org where you can get more information on better alternatives or even purchase rainforest safe products through their website and help the world with just changing where you buy your items. I thought that was really cool. And if none of those things suit your needs, you can, at a minimum, sign petitions at change.org. It's a very well-known website. Or visit Greenpeace. They started their own petition as well. You can always try and hold politicians and corporations accountable, but I wouldn't hold my breath because as far as this list goes, it's probably the most definitely the hardest to accomplish. But if you're a go-getter, then more power to you. I will provide every source that I found in the show notes that I listed right now to be sure. So, be sure to check those out after the show. Once again, these are just tiny changes, tiny things that you can do. Every dollar, it really matters. The small things all add up if we all kind of come together and help, And, I've been doing this podcast for more than a year now. And the more I look into positive news stories, the more I find good emerging from bad. Some of the best things come from the worst situations. And I can only hope that out of all the bad I find, there are silver linings, and sharing these silver lining stories can and will inspire others to do something more positive, or at least have a glass half full outlook to life, no matter how dark it gets. With that being said, that's all I really have for you today. I really hope I helped give you some more knowledge on how important the rainforest is and how you can act on doing whatever you can, no matter how big or small it is, to help. And while you're at it, if this podcast has inspired you to do something positive or focus on something more positive, we'd love to hear from you, whether it be stories, it be something that you were a part of or that you saw, like anything positive. We need that. Especially now of all times, we need that a little more, so please write us, whether through a DM from Instagram or Facebook. We can be found on both those places at Limelight Highlight, or an old-fashioned email directly at limelighthhighlight@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is at LL Highlight. And if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe, give it a like and a review and a rating, as well as share it with someone who might need a little pick-me-up for the week. And don't forget, Tuesday, Feed the Block, September 15th, Babes Who Brunch. And make sure to check out we.r._ on Instagram, and stay tuned for more information on those guys. Once again, shout out to all those getting involved and helping out with volunteering and donations and all the back to school events and stuff, is just helping out the community. I really, words can't express how grateful I am to be a part of some of these organizations, or to even know that these organizations exist. And words can't describe how happy I am to actually report, So I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast. I hope you guys are getting all the things that I'm putting out there. I know a lot of it's focused in Philly, but we got people in Baltimore. We got people all over the place that are listening, all over the world, really. And I thank you guys. Thank you guys for always tuning in and giving me good feedback, or just feedback in general, whether it be good or bad. This show is for the people. I really want to make it an experience